Following yesterday's incredible match between France and the reigning and defending Rugby World Cup champions South Africa, I'm going to be assessing each of the players' performances as well as giving them a score out of 10. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on my scores. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have I been too lenient or have I been too harsh? Let me know and we can have a discussion based upon your thoughts in the comment section down below. Firstly, what an incredible match it was. All the credit has to go to France and South Africa. They really left nothing in reserve and treated the fans to what was an amazing test match, full of drama, full of brilliant tries in the first half, and ultimately it came down to some fine margins in the second half and left South Africa, who went into the match as underdogs, has left South Africa as the favourites to lift and retain the William Webb Ellis Cup. I'm going to start off with France though. Cyril Baille, brilliant game from him, 8.5. I'm going to have to give an 8.5 as well to Malvaca, verging on a 9, and then a 7.5 for Unie Antonio. Some good performances there in that French front row. Cyril Baille bagging himself a brace. Really solid performance from him. He's one of those rare breeds of prop which has such good vision on a rugby pitch, and you know what prop scores in the 5 metre channel that's not from a pick and go. You never really see it. Some brilliant hands from Penaud sent Baille over in that right hand side corner. Brilliant stuff from Baille. Unie Antonio with a slightly less score. I felt like he didn't really involve himself overly much in the game. I thought he struggled to get going at points. 7.5 still a solid score. It just didn't quite have the fine finesse and brilliance that Baille showed in the game. Malvaca, look, maybe it's harsh not to give him a 9. I thought he was really quality throughout the match. An injury to Julien Marchand ultimately left France in a little bit of a predicament, and Malvaca has really stepped up. Incredible stuff from him. Great line-out darts, which I thought could have been a problem for France, as well as some brilliant evasive running. In the French second row, Woki for me gets an 8.5 and Flamand an 8. Some good work from the second rows. As I said, I'd expect the South Africans to nick more line-out ball, but I think actually France nicked more of the South Africans, which is testament to those second rows. Good stuff from them. And then moving into the back row, I've got all 8s in the back row: Jelonch, Aldrit and Olivon. Good performances all round there. Some really good ball carrying and some unbelievable physicality and work rate. When you face the South Africans, one thing you have to do is front up. And although the French didn't dominate the South Africans physically, they probably weren't quite as physical as the South Africans. Even getting within a couple percent of the South African physicality is very impressive. At points, especially in attack, they looked like they were definitely getting over the advantage line consistently. And really good stuff from that French back row. Olivon showing some good wheels and some brilliant supporting lines as he always does. Jelonch with some powerful carries, and then Aldrit is the perfect blend between attacking and defensive in the number 8 jersey. Now moving into the back line, Antoine Dupont for me gets a 9. How he's come back from his injury in time for this game and then puts on an absolute rugby clinic, finding the space where space I didn't even realise was just unreal. And then Jalibert, a solid score with an 8. See if we can get the pen working. Jalibert spot space unbelievably. Lacked a little bit of execution in the second half. I think they left all of their attacking rugby France out there in the first half. They struggled to continue the attacking momentum in the second, mainly down to some amazing South African defence, I must add. In terms of the centres, some really good performances from Danty and Fickou. 8.5 for Danty, verging a 9, and then an 8 for Fickou. Danty was probably going to get a 9 or even a 9.5 because he was that good in the game. I just felt in the second half the accuracy dropped off. You always want Danty running direct lines, that's what he's best at, and I feel like he tried to play a different style in the second half, a couple sort of floated passes, which really isn't his game, but solid performance, very good performance from Danty. Fickou at the outside centre gets an 8. I thought he was quality, not quite as fast as he once was, but he's still such a solid player. Defensively, rock solid, and was up against it with some amazing attacking threats in South Africa, but yeah, he gets an 8 from me. In terms of the French back 3, Billy Barry gets a 7.5, Penaud gets an 8, and then Ramos gets a 8.5. Look, I felt the French struggled in the air. Ultimately, I think that was one of the points in which cost them. Billy Barry didn't get involved an awful lot, and as I said, struggled under the high ball a little bit. Ultimately, I can't remember who in the French back 3 it was, but a spilt ball off of the box kick ultimately let Arendse run away and level the score at 7-all. The French could have gone to 14-0. with a brilliant bit of intercept from Etzebeth, which I thought was a deliberate knock-on at the time. Looking back at it, I can see what Ben O'Keefe is saying. So they go from almost 14-0 to 7 apiece, down to some poor handling of the ball from France. Penaud gets an 8, really does well to spot the space, always looks dangerous with ball in hand. Didn't get given as much opportunity due to the unbelievable scramble defence of South Africa, preventing him from scoring. Ramos at fullback kicked unbelievably well. Ultimately, it was a charge down from Cheslin Colby and a missed long-range kick, which were the points he left out there, which is 5 points, which ultimately would have tipped the game in their favour, but they were tough kicks, and you can't doubt the brilliance of Cheslin Colby to ultimately stop him converting. And then on the South African side, what scores have I given them? I thought the South Africans in general were just absolutely superb. I'm going to give Steven Kitshoff, it's probably one of the lowest scoring South Africans for me, with an 8. Monambi with an 8.5. Malherbe with a 9. I thought the South African front row was quality, especially at scrum time. They were just unbelievably physical. The reason Kitshoff gets an 8 and is less than by, Kitshoff was unreal at scrum time. It was just the ruck penalties which has dropped his score. 3 penalties in a row at ruck time in the first 15 minutes is a huge amount to be conceded. So Kitshoff would want to clean up his act there. Monambi playing a huge amount of rugby in this game with the injury to Malcolm Marx. He did unbelievably well to stay on the field for so long. Good line-out darts, missed a couple, but around the field he was very powerful and deserves a lot of credit. Malherbe on the other side of the scrum, I thought he was really, really quality. Did a lot of very good carries, was very powerful. Maybe an 8.5 was probably a better reflection, considering the around the park work is something Malherbe isn't unbelievable at. His scrum time is just so solid, but does get through a decent amount of work around the field. Just maybe not the same finesse and handling skills as some of his other counterparts. So I will give him an 8.5 on reflection. In terms of the second rows, some unbelievable performances here. Eben Etzebeth 9.5, no questions asked, absolutely phenomenal. The try he scored from 5 metres out was just ridiculous. I don't know how he did it. Practically carried half of the French forward pack and back line over the line with him to score underneath the posts, in which South Africa at that point was 6 points down and needed a try to get in the lead. And it proved the point of difference, so fair play to him, unreal stuff. And then Mostert 8.5, quality from him. Look, he's obviously doesn't get as many headlines as Etzebeth, but at points he just looks just as efficient. He didn't get as much game time as I expected him to, came off early in the second half, but solid performance from him. And then in terms of the back row, Kolisi, I can't even write with this pen. Kolisi gets an 8.5. I'm going to have to do this in black, apologies. Kolisi gets an 8.5. Pieter-Steph du Toit was really good as well with an 8.5. And then Vermeulen gets an 8. Back row efforts from South Africa at the breakdown were just simply incredible. Kolisi and Pieter-Steph du Toit got a couple of the best flankers in world rugby, both absolutely relentless at the breakdown. The speed of the clear outs was unreal, and the ability to get over the ball as soon as the French players made a carry was incredible. Though Vermeulen, not quite as explosive as I felt he was in 2019, not quite as the same player, but still a very efficient ball carrying number 8, and gave South Africa a lot of good go forward momentum in the game as well. Moving into the back line, Cobus Ryanak an 8, Manny Lebok an 8 as well. I thought these two controlled the game well. An 8 is a good score, by the way, just to clear up. He wasn't quite as exceptional as Dupont, came off for Faf de Klerk. Faf de Klerk did very well when he came on, probably an 8.5 from him. Ryanak, I like the mix up in selection. I thought Ryanak brought something a little bit different. Very good box kicker, and got a lot of pace on him as well. And he's always running those support lines just like any good 9 would. Manny Lebok scores an 8. He had one superb touchline conversion and then one miss in which he really should be getting. So I think the fact that they had Pollard on the bench to come on was a massive point of difference. I think that's going to be the strategy going forward. Start Lebok to get the passes in and get the game opening up and score some tries. And then when it really counts in the last 20 minutes, get Handré Pollard on to clean up the 3 points from all over the pitch. Good tactic from the South African coaching staff. And then moving into the midfield, this is where the scores start to rack up. A 9 for Damien Delonde and a 9 for Jesse Kriel. Diolande, I don't think had found his form until this game, and he was absolutely superb. Unreal stuff from him. His carry, scored a try. His ability to break a tackle was phenomenal. And then Jesse Kriel, a player in which I'd always thought was one of the weaker links in the South African team, but he's proved that he wasn't. Some good carries from him, and then what ultimately was an unreal grubber kick. Like, I don't think you could have kicked it any better. Sat perfectly up for Cheslin Kolbe to go under the sticks, and continued the South African scoring spree in the first half. Brilliant stuff from him. And then in terms of the back three, some quality scores here as well. I'm going to give Cheslin Kolbe a 9. I'm going to give Arendse a 9, and then Willemse an 8.5. Very positive stuff all around here. Cheslin Kolbe with the vital charge down of Thomas Ramos. Ultimately, the game was a 1-point game, and he saved 2 points, a potential 2 points, let's just add, because we don't know that it was going to be converted, but Ramos is incredible off his boot, so most likely converted score, and he did very well to charge that down. Throughout the game, he's just a lethal finisher, brilliant feet, running it from the backfield, makes constant meters, half breaks all of the time, and if you put him in space, he will execute 9.5 times out of 10. He was absolutely phenomenal. Arendse, the poacher of all poachers, as soon as the French error was made, he was the first player on that ball, and ultimately scored some crucial points for the South Africans in that game. Good under the high ball, caused some troubles for the likes of Billy Berry and Penaud in the air, so good stuff all around from Arendse. And then Willemse at fullback, not quite as impressive as the other two in the backfield, but he was solid player under the high ball, and added a good right boot as well. Won the kicking duels a couple of times, and kept the French back in their own half, as well as some good counter-attacking rugby from him. Loves to challenge the line, and is a phenomenal player in doing so. Those are my scores. If I had to pick a man of the match, I think there's no other player than Eben Etzebeth. Look, in the big games, you want your big players to step up, and he did just that. Unbelievable stuff from him. And on the French side, my man of the match is split between Antoine Dupont and Malvaca. Part of me saying Malvaca, but I'm going to have to go with Antoine Dupont. He stayed on pretty much the whole game, or I think it was till the very final whistle, and showed his brilliance. So to come back from an injury showed an awful lot of pride and sort of just brilliance from Antoine Dupont to get ready for this game, in which was ultimately a defining match for the French team, which didn't go their way. But credit to the Springboks, credit to Eben Etzebeth and a lot of the South African performers. They were simply sublime. I'm not looking forward to meeting them in the knockout stages in the semi-final. That is a game in which I'm going to have sleepless nights in the lead up to. But look, everything's on the line in that game. But what a game we saw today. I think this could be the best game of the World Cup. It definitely is so far, and I don't see a game beating it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on my scores and the game in general. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.